Welcome back to Koolaid Stand. I'm Steven.
I'm Jet.
And this episode, we want to get right off into it. We're opening up with a trigger warning. We're going to be talking about a lot of death. We're going to talk about themes of suicide. So if you or anyone you know is experiencing grief or dealing with a death or possibly might have ideations, make sure that you call someone. We'll have the helpline in the description. Just talk to people. Don't be alone.
Yeah.
But
And also feel free to bow out if that's not the right topic for you today.
that's okay. But for us, it is for me because at the end of December, one of my best friends died. It was tragic and mortifying, and has left me floating in some form of abyss where I can't really do much but just kind of grapple with the reality that we all have to learn now how to live without her in this fallout. Um, it's difficult to find words as I'm looking at 2 pages of writing, or find purpose enough in speaking to even utter the words that I do find, honestly. But I'm determined to do that. One of my best friends is gone. I'll never see her again. She's been taken from me and everyone who loved her, and now the world is a little dimmer. Life can be so cruel and unfair to people. Some of us are just formulated into existence, and our whole experience is hurt. And beyond that, usually those people manage to still be the brightest lights for everyone around them. So I just wanted to make an episode to talk about how short our lives are, and how much you can mean to someone during that time. And maybe if you've lost someone recently, you can sit with us and mourn the loss of our most beautiful minds and smiles. Funnily enough, even though I asked Jet what experience he's had with death. Go ahead.
Yeah. This one feels a little bit challenging to weigh in on for me because I honestly haven't had anyone really close to me die before. I have yet to have that experience. I've had people around me die, or sort of distant family members that I didn't really speak to or know pass away. Um, and I've had pets die. I think the one of the one of the most memorable things that happened for me was when I was working at in the electronics section of a grocery store. There was this woman I worked with that just didn't show up to work one day, and it was like unusual for it to be a no call, no show kind of situation, right? Um, I don't think I even thought that much of it at like when she didn't show up for work that day, although I was there. I thought she was just out, but she had
Mhm.
taken her own life. Just felt super random. I wasn't really close with her or anything, but it it came out of nowhere. Certainly nobody that worked with her was expecting it. She had a husband and a kid, and um, yeah, she just I guess she just left work one day, and nobody saw her again after that.
It's awful, and it's crazy that it's like the degrees of effect you have when you exit, regardless of how, is so much more than you ever think. Like the impact of your the void you leave behind can touch people that you didn't even know really cared about you being around
Yeah,
or really knew much about you. Um, but it does, and I think that's important to remember. Um, I have had numerous experiences with loss and death in my life. Um, I don't know. I wouldn't say it's like unending, but it's definitely seems like it's not. um,
it's one of
Life
life's
is,
constants, right?
yeah, one of life's constants, right? The change, both in everything, right? The change from life to death, the change from nothing to life. Everything passes in turns. Um, my first direct observant experience with death, I was like 12, and one of our cats like climbed onto my lap. It was just like hanging out with me, and then like seized out and died right in my hands.
Jesus
Like
fucking
we
Christ.
it was horrifying. I laugh about it now because what else could you do? But like I laugh at the absurdity of a child petting a cat and the cat like seizes and then ceases living. Like seizes and ceases, if you will.
It's like
She had a
comically sad almost because
it's
it's such an absurd,
abrupt.
yeah, it's such an absurd thing to have happen to you.
Yeah. I've put pets down and stuff too since then. Like when I was 16, a cat, the only cat I've ever owned personally, like that was my cat, was born with. Well, he was born and then he had fading kitten syndrome, which is where like a cat just decides to give up the fucking ghost. And then like right on death's door, he's like, nah, actually, I'm sticking around. So he like started eating and he ended up living. And the issue is your immune system shuts down before you die, especially when you're a baby. And if you're not like getting your immune system from your mom's milk. So he had a cold that just lasted forever. Like he had like this weird super bug that was specifically attuned to his system and lived his whole life with a cold. He was sniffly, sounded dumb, um, and he was a good boy. He was a cuddler. He was a chiller. He's the only cat I really have like specifically enjoyed other than one I have now. But like it just got to a point where I was petting him and like his eyes like had like little pebbles in them, and I was like, "What is that?" And it's the scar tissue from his tear ducts, and like he like could barely breathe. Cats aren't meant to breathe through their mouth, so breathing through his nose was always labored, and he started to get really like lackadaisical. So clearly he wasn't getting enough air, and I had to make the call to put him down. That was when I was like 16.
Yeah.
That was on my birthday too.
I do kind of remember the birthday thing now that you mention it.
Yeah,
I do kind of
it
remember
sucked.
that.
I have some pictures of him, and I have an urn. So now when I have girls over, I'm like, "You want to see my cat?" They're like, "Yes." Show them my little urn.
Great bit.
It's worked every time so far. um, Before then, though, between middle and high school, I had another friend tragically fucking pass away, and I wasn't known about as a friend enough to inform directly. So even though we talked all the time, so like when I got to my freshman year of high school, I was like asking where she was, and some of her friends I just happened, thank God, to like be in the same class with, and like I was like, "Hey, so where is she?" And they both looked at each other and they looked at me and they're like, "Dude, she's not around anymore."
Yeah.
And that was surreal. To just like I was late to the fucking party. You know what I mean? Like I just like it was already over. Everyone had already like had their memorial and they already mourned. And I like that death was new to me now and no one else was around to like really talk about that with. None of you guys knew her.
No, I remember
So,
this happening actually. I was just attached to it tangentially because we were around the same schools, right? And
yeah.
the same age. So I knew people who were like really affected by that, and I knew about the situation, but I didn't know her personally.
Just another free person who just, this world just wasn't fucking built for. And I think that like sometimes the world just isn't meant for some of us. And unfortunately people just can't find where they fit before it's too
Yeah.
late. Think fuck I did. We'll talk about that later, I guess. More recently, my grandfather, my dad's dad, lost a slow and miserable battle with cancer when I was like 23. That was like 3 years ago almost. That was horrifying. Uh, you really feel every second of why they refer to dying of cancer as the long goodbye. It
Yeah.
is an agonizing death march from someone who seems okay to rotting from the inside out. It's fucking foul. He didn't really fight too hard. I think he didn't really want to. Um, but it metastasized, and as soon as that happens, you get cancer pretty much everywhere. And like his spine was fusing and growing into his diaphragm and crumpling up like a bug. It was awful.
Terrifying.
That's the best way I could describe it too. Like when you see a bug like dead on the sidewalk, and it's all like dried up and husked.
Yeah.
That's what that looks like. Um, it's terrifying. It's ugly and horrible. And I didn't really know a lot about my grandfather. He was a really private. He was a really private and performative person. So like he didn't really like let his kind of true self be seen. And I had to write the eulogy. Um, like so I had to call everyone who knew him and hear about him. And he was a pretty divisive person. So like I had to figure out who the real grandfather was and try and present that to the best of my ability. I did it in a way I think everyone was proud of, but like so strange that a death can leave you wondering more. Um, both my father and I are kind of just like still we got questions, and
Yeah.
when we did have those questions, he chose not to have conversations with us. He avoided them. He was so incapable of emotionally connecting that he died, leaving us wondering, and
Yeah.
that sucks.
I think when someone's alive, having those conversations doesn't feel as urgent because you can, as long as the person's around, you can always do it later, right?
Yeah,
But that opportunity can be removed at a moment's notice, and
anytime.
then you simply will never have the chance to have those conversations. But you just don't think about it that much, especially with people who are healthy, right? You don't.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's
I don't think
just
about.
something you can always do later, and until it isn't. Like, it sounds simple, but
Yeah,
it's not something people frequently think about, I think.
no, not at all. It really sucks the most because he knew he was gonna die. Like you could tell he resigned to death.
Hmm.
So it's like I feel like in that case you would take the opportunity to like connect with your people just for them. But ultimately he chose a more selfish path, and I'm just saying that matter of factly. I'm not bitter about it. It's just what he did. And that sucks for us, but you learn how to live with it, as we'll talk about. Um, right after his brother, my great uncle, died of leukemia, like a month I think after that,
Wow.
and that was really interesting because he was a great man, and his wake was stuffed full of people. And he had lung cancer earlier in his life. I think when he was like 40, maybe 45 or 50, and had one of his lungs removed. I think a full lobectomy. And what happens when you fight with chemo is unfortunately you are on another timer until your blood decides to betray you.
Hmm.
And that is what he knew would happen, and that is what did happen. And when I talked to him about it, I called him and we had a discussion. And he looked at the years that he had from surviving to now as a blessing. And everyone around him like could feel that he lived to celebrate life because of that. And that was such an impressive way to think about life and look at it. It's like to watch that happen right next to my grandfather, who had all but resigned to death as soon as he like received his cancer diagnosis. Like, um, I don't know. It was something else. He was just grateful to have lived, and we talked about mortality and had a really strong conversation. And then he passed away in like early December, and that was it. And yeah, I don't know. I wish I could have known him more. He was such a great dude.
Yeah.
Um, and everyone clearly loved him so much. But I'm not. I'm nowhere near as in turmoil over that because he was okay with death, and had lived a good life. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Um, yeah,
And I'm always impressed by, and honestly kind of envious of people who are so genuinely uh, grateful for their lives. You know what I
yeah,
mean? You can be thankful that um, we're in fairly easy positions, right? And that we have our lives. But some people you can tell are just genuinely delighted to be around. And I
yeah.
don't know. It's infectious, right?
It is. Like thinking about people like that helps me be in moments. You know what I mean? Where I can just
Yeah.
kind of like sit back and look around and be like, I've got nowhere to go. I got nowhere to be. I got a drink and I got my friends, and that's okay. Like,
I'm
let's
not
just
one of
enjoy
those
that.
people, generally speaking,
Me neither.
which is why I find myself a little bit envious of people who are so genuinely happy, just to have another day above ground, as they say.
Yeah. Um, and now I'm dealing with this. So it's not just me. She left behind a brother and a family who cared about her and worried for her, and plenty of other friends too. All people who knew how beautiful of a person she was and how free she was, and it did, at least from my perspective, come out of nowhere. Um, like I had spoken to her like 3 days prior,
Yeah.
where she was like, "I'll call you this weekend," and then wouldn't be calling me that weekend because she died. And yeah, I just don't really see a point in tiptoeing around how to even say that, because it's just like that's what happened.
Yeah.
And and I'm just kind of left here in the wake, just like everybody else. Um, I found out because Colby had seen her brother post an obituary, and I woke up to Colby's forwarding me that, and I was like, "What?" And I looked at it and realized, I don't know. I looked at it and I was like, "That's what," and then I don't know. I like disconnected from even the idea, and then all of a sudden it clicked. Like 30 seconds into looking at the website, that I was like, "Oh, she's for real dead. Like she's
Yeah.
gone." Um,
It's a different beast when
this
you
is
don't have
real.
time to prepare for that.
Yeah, it still feels unreal. Like I understand what people say when they're like given such fucking horrifying news. Like it doesn't even settle in.
Hmm.
Like it's almost like it can't. It can't even connect with me that like this happened sometimes.
Because it's
And
unbelievable.
it's genuinely unbelievable.
Yeah.
How could someone my age that I grew up with and like had a crush on in elementary school and like have all this history with just be fucking snuffed out like this? And I didn't get my fucking phone call. It's just how it is sometimes.
Yeah.
Um, well. My next question is how did your experience with these deaths leave you feeling? Um, you have one example, I suppose, but like I guess how does the
Yeah.
wake of a death leave you?
I think I don't have anything that's going to be something that was impactful on me as what you're going through right now is on you. Because, like I said before, I haven't had anybody really, really close to me pass away in my life so far. I think um, deaths that have happened around me, they they do get me thinking about death and my own mortality and mortality in general. It's sort of a stark reminder. I think it is for everybody, regardless of how personally close they are to somebody when they pass away. Because I think a lot of people, including myself, either don't think about death very often or are actively trying to avoid doing so.
Sure.
And when somebody does die, you have to think about it and you have to spend some time with it and you have to square it away before you can put it back on the back burner. And so I do think I've been, I guess, I feel like I've at the very least been forced to confront mortality and the concept of it.
Sure. I think one thing that's really interesting to me, especially in this case, is the juxtaposition between how blasé we treat death as like teenagers and how real death is. Period. No matter
Yeah.
how old you are. I remember once I was talking to her, and she switched schools from our main school to a recovery school, and she was working a part-time job at Burger King while she was doing that. And she told me once that someone from school who knew her saw her at Burger King and was like, "Whoa, I thought you died." And she resented that remark because it's like,
Yeah.
what the fuck do you mean? Like,
Yeah.
that's a horrible thing to say. And I was like, yeah, that is a horrible thing to
Because
say.
what
It's
were you
very funny.
expecting to happen to me? What about me made
Yeah,
you what about me made you expect that something was going to happen to me?
that my life would just be over. Like, and she was like 20.
Yeah.
Um, it's just like, that is a fucking horrible thing. And for us to be like in our 20s and say something like that is so removed from having to deal with the notion of death that it's just like, oh, I thought you wouldn't be alive anymore. What the heck? You're alive? Like, why is that's such a fucking frustrating thing. To treat death that way. Like, dude, death's real. Like, I don't what else is there to say? Like, I
Yeah.
like I would never be surprised somebody's alive. I would be surprised that they've passed.
Is
Um,
often the more surprising thing, you have to
yeah.
admit.
Um, all of these deaths left me feeling, I don't know. I deal with death in an interesting way, probably just because of my disposition. But like, clearly, I've been surrounded by it a lot, and I do believe that death is inevitable. Um, and I used to, when I was younger, look at that and say, well, there's no point in really grieving much. And it wasn't a destructive way of thinking about things, but around the time my grandfather died, it was like, okay, well, because before then it was cats and friends. One of them I didn't even get a chance to witness, so it was like fine. When my grandfather passed right in front of me, like hours after I saw him, I was like, okay, let's feel this one. And I've been feeling them ever since. And I don't know, they leave me confused and tumultuous. Certainly, there's a lot of emotions. Right, grief is a complicated thing.
Yeah.
Um, it comes in waves, certainly, and I think, yeah, it makes me think about my own mortality and my own place on this planet, and if I'm not like in a dangerous way living my life to the fullest, but like doing the best that I can and making sure that the people around me know how much I love them. Because yeah, like you said earlier, this death could just tap on your shoulder literally anytime,
Yeah.
and you have no choice. So you just gotta go.
Yeah, that's one of the scariest things to me. I don't think I'm a person that's especially scared of death in general, but the fact that it just can be so sudden and random and completely and absolutely final
Yeah,
is really scary.
yeah. There's no turning it back either. Like you can't. There's no amount of bargaining or deals you can make to even get us a second more time
Yeah.
with in the room with somebody with their heart still beats. It's just like that's it. Um, I think an interesting thing, especially in my family, that I've like grappled with for a long time is my on my father's side. My father's not like this, but comes from a line of kind of old school like greatest generation evers who are like obsessed with legacy,
Yeah.
um, like unhealthily transfixed by the notion of legacy, and what remains when you pass away. I just don't. I don't know. Like, what even is a legacy? Like, Is it the stuff you leave behind? Is it some idea? Or is it like monuments that you built that will fucking crumble away? Like
I think
I
all
don't know.
of
It's
that
never.
is legacy. I think what I care about for myself, my own legacy, is just how people feel about me after I'm
Yeah,
gone. I think I hope people miss me, right?
sure.
That's the
That's
main
I think that's my
thing.
biggest one.
That's the main thing is I hope people miss me and remember me fondly. But that's also a tough thing to feel because I don't want to be the cause of that feeling for people.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, not like you'd care, but
No, I wouldn't
yeah,
really have the chance to, but it's a bittersweet thing to think about how people might remember you and miss you.
yeah. I think bittersweet's a really good way to put it. Melancholic to an extent, like just
Yeah,
they like I'm not here anymore, and all that's left are my memories, and I hope that people look back on those and cherish them. And I mean, the thing is you can experience that through through a way like you can because I already have cherished memories, and people express that they cherish memories with me or things that I said that I don't remember. I think that's definitely one of the more interesting things is when I go. I will have left memories that I don't even remember doing that's important to people.
yeah.
like and I think that's really funny and entertaining in its own morbid way.
It's encouraging to me.
Yeah, I don't care about wealth or property or monuments or policy. Like I just hope that when I'm gone, that people look at me and they think that I did the best that I could and I made their lives better.
Yeah.
Because that's the way I'm gonna look at my best friends. Like I think that's all I can expect. And hopefully they tell their kids about me or something, or their kids tell their kids about Uncle Steven or some shit. Like I don't know.
Yeah. As
Um,
much as you and I don't really care about leaving behind monuments or money or things like that,
mhm.
it's more so about memories and emotion for us, certainly. But we still, like, I think we still care a lot about legacy, if we want to count those things as legacy, I suppose.
Sure.
It still feels important to me, even though it's not ever going to mean anything to me. I'd still like to leave leave a positive memory and a positive impact on the people who are still around after I go, for their sake, if nothing else.
Well, yeah. That's my next question. Is like, why do we care so much about what happens after we die? And I think that is it. Is I have empathy for the
Yeah,
people that will have to deal with this fucking crater that I'm gonna leave behind in their lives, like on their timeline. Like,
yeah,
I want it to be okay for them.
yeah. And selfishly, I hope it is a crater. Like, I do want to matter to people, you know?
Hell yeah. And you know what? I think that just comes from wanting people to care about you. It's
Yeah,
just a natural human thing.
absolutely.
And I don't think that's so bad. I think it becomes ego when it's like, no, not just people to care about me. I want to leave a mark on this planet. And it's just like my aspirations are grand, but they're not like that. It's I just want the people that knew me to be like, damn, I'm sad he's gone. Maybe cry a little bit, but
Maybe pour one out for me,
maybe pour one out for
and
me.
we'll call
Leave a
it
seat
good.
open next to them at the bar. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Um, how how do we stomach the regrets? I mean, like you said, people they leave and it's final. There's
Mm.
no coming back. So like things are left unresolved, and even if things are left resolved, you could still feel like I don't know. I've resolved conflict with people, and I still some of those wounds they still bleed sometimes, even if
Yeah.
they're patched up. Um, I don't know.
I
I think
don't.
you just have to like be okay with it. I don't know.
I'm not going to be much more help with this question, honestly. I don't think I know how to do this very. I don't think this is really some like a skill I'm equipped with.
these most recent deaths for me have been each of them have had their own kernel of regret and or kernels, and it is a harsh thing to have to live with because there is no resolving, there is no closure to acquire. um
Yeah. You can't go
you have
back and
to,
fix or change
or
do
even go forward
anything.
and talk about it now, like,
Yeah, it's stuck in the past at that point, and there's nothing you can do to change it. Or if you have a regret about something you did, you can't make up for it anymore. All that's gone. So how do you stomach it? I don't know. I guess just time. You just you just wait, and you'll
that
think about it over time, and you'll feel different ways about it over time, and it's gonna just become what it is to you, and you're gonna feel how you feel about it. And like you said, finding a way to be okay with it, or just sitting with it long enough that you're okay with it, is kind of all you can do, I think.
that's the worst part about it, is it's like everyone says time heals all wounds, and that is the truth. The struggle with waiting for that healing is waiting for that healing.
Yeah.
You just gotta stand around and hold on,
Yeah.
and death grip your fucking lifeboat until those waves are done. And even then, like years down the line, uh, uh you'll just get fucking broadsided by some rogue emotion. You're like, oh, and then you just have to fucking deal with it. It's brutal,
Yeah, I mean,
but
this happens to me with any kind of emotional
yeah,
turmoil that I've experienced, like years and years in the past. Not just things related to death, even silly little like embarrassing moments that I
sure.
had come up like that, and even those things, I think, show that just spending enough time with something is seems to be the most potent cure, unfortunately.
I think so too. Um, do you ever, like, how often do you think about your own death?
Not a lot. Not a lot, I don't think. Um, I guess I'm not too scared of it at this stage in my life.
Sure. Um, I I've thought about my death a lot in my life. Um, I have begged for it before. It's something that I struggle with. Honestly, I think I'll probably struggle with it forever. Um, that's okay. It's difficult to talk about because it's hard to even explain what that kind of pain is, and I'll take a shot at that in a little bit. But I think I broke my leg in 2021, and that was such a real injury, like with for real damage, with
Mm-hmm.
a fallout that I deal with today, and deep scars and implants left behind, and like I'm permanently altered forever.
Yeah.
And I think when that happened, I realized that I can die. Like I had wanted to for a long time and didn't really see myself living, but I had never come close to genuine, real, actual harm and damage.
Yeah.
Um, only emotional turmoil up until that point.
Mm-hmm.
Physical, actual damage was something else. And I think it changed how I thought about things. It didn't make that kind of ideation go away, but it definitely made me realize that I'm not invulnerable. Like,
Yeah.
and this is a separate thing. Like, I you can both crave and yearn for a release of your suffering and also not consider your frailty. Like, the both these things can happen at the same time. I'm trying to make the hand motion in the camera. It's just like that's just how it is. I don't know. After that happened, I was definitely like, dude, this is crazy. Like, I
Yeah.
uh, I could get hurt worse than this.
Yeah, you have
Like,
to check yourself for sure. I think like driving a car is something that every once in a while makes me think about how often people die in car crashes and how it's like
Yeah.
one of the most dangerous things that most people do on a daily basis, if not the most dangerous thing that most people do on a daily basis. Um, and like for a year and a half or so, I was doing like a long commute to work most
Mhm.
days, and um,
You're like, I could drive off a
every
bridge right
once in
now.
a while, I would well, no, not that. I drove like an hour on the freeway to work and back every day, and sometimes I would think about, wow, I'm like my mortality rate is probably like way higher than the average person's because of my commute. I'm probably significantly more likely to die because I spend so much fucking time driving around. I don't know why. Maybe it's because
I've never thought about that.
I got in a bad car crash a couple years
Sure,
ago, so maybe this
you
is
did.
why I think about it more often. It was a car crash that like really should have hurt me worse than it did.
Mhm.
I got out with like a pretty nasty concussion, but that was it. Um, and I didn't hit any other cars or hurt anybody else or anything. So there is, it was awful, and I fucking wish I didn't have to deal with any of it. But there was also silver linings to it. I didn't hurt anybody. I didn't hurt myself that bad. Um, I keep like a Saint Christopher in my car, which is just kind of like a family tradition. When
Okay.
I got my first car, my mom gave me a St. Christopher to put in it. She always keeps one in her car. And I crashed with the St. Christopher in my car. And um, I, my mom came up to like help me deal with like tow trucks and a bunch of other shit later that day because I was concussed and like very emotional.
And stupid, yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, Mom, the St. Christopher didn't work. And she was like, you're not bleeding, nothing broke. Like, you didn't hit anybody else.
That's so funny
I
because
know
your
this
parents
sucks,
and
but
you
like,
aren't religious.
no, I don't. Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of just like a good luck charm to me.
Sure, yeah, no, I got you.
And I don't even necessarily believe that it actually brings me good luck. It's just a
But it makes you feel
tradition.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, that car crash was a similar kind of thing for me to what you were
I didn't
talking
even
about.
think about it that way. Like when you told me you got in a car crash, like, ah, shit, you got in a car crash. That sucks for him financially. But like, I wasn't
It was a
like
pretty
thinking about
serious
like,
car crash.
yeah, I don't know. I just didn't really think about it that seriously. I was like, oh, Jet got in a crash. That sucks. Uh, but like, yeah, it was serious. You did have significant whiplash. You had a concussion.
I
You
didn't think about it
could have
very
died.
seriously at the time either. And yeah, I could have died. I didn't even think about it like that at the time. It's more so,
Well, that's the thing about dying is you don't even see it coming most of the time. You
yeah,
just do. You could have been driving and then it could have been nothing.
I could have not even realized, right?
Yeah, you wouldn't have. It just would have been over. And
Yeah.
like, how fucking terrifying! Mortality is so more. Life is so frail.
Yeah. I was
You don't even
so,
know.
I just like blew it off at the time. It feels like a weird, I feel like I behaved weirdly about it looking back on it, I think.
I don't think anyone would blame you. It's definitely yeah. It was pretty serious, and I not even until like right now was I ever really considering that to be that serious of an event. But yeah, dude, like I would have probably trauma. I got hit by a car, and I was like having
Yeah.
nightmares for weeks after that. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
Driving made me anxious in general for a little while, especially
yeah.
like I hydroplaned. So I like really tried to avoid driving in heavy rain for like a
I've
solid while.
I have no. You still do. I've noticed. You also, I think I've been in the car with you while you've been driving while it's a little bit wet, and you absolutely slow down whenever there's a puddle, no matter how deep in the road.
Yeah.
Um, I don't even question it because I know why, and yeah, I would be doing that too. That sucks.
It
Do
might
you
look
do you like always
silly, but it's
spring?
keeping me safer.
Do you always spring for like heavy rain tires when like you get tire changes on your car?
No, I spring for the tires I can afford.
Fair enough. One thing I think people hear a lot about these days is the phrase "Memento Mori."
Yeah.
It's something that I literally have tattooed on my forearm, and
True.
Well, actually, technically, we both have Memento Moris on our arms. We got them together They're both
It's on there.
hourglasses ticking out.
Yeah.
Um, so I wanted to talk about what that is. Mine also says memento vivere, so we'll get there. But originally, Stoic philosophers of the Roman era would meditate on death and visit tombs of other older philosophers frequently to remind themselves of their mortality. Um, Another thing I've heard is in some accounts of like the Roman triumph, generals would have a public servant or slave follow behind them, specifically behind them, and just to occasionally remind them of their impending deaths.
Dude, how do I
Just to
get
keep,
that gig?
dude, I know, right? Well, you have to be a slave or a servant, so you're not getting paid. But
Yeah,
you do get to
never
follow a
mind.
guy around. You get fed and clothed, and you just go, "Hey, man, you're gonna die. Don't forget that."
He's like,
And
thank you.
thanks, man. Like,
Appreciate it.
um, it's a really interesting idea. It sounds very Roman. I don't know if it's real or not, but there are like this is a recorded account. So, it could be embellishment or it could be real. Um, some derivations of that specific notion led to the idea and phrase of looking behind or look behind or looking behind yourself as a casual reminder that death stands behind you at all times. This comes from another lineage of phrases where it's like death is always standing behind the man that is victorious or something like that. But
Yeah.
basically, we're all cosmic cattle to the eventual causality of entropy. Like we will all die and cease, and that is the great equalizer. Only time. That's it. That's the only difference between you and me is one of us is gonna die first,
Yeah.
and but we both will die, and that's just how it is. These days, the phrase memento mori or the idea, so a memento mori is something that does this reminding for you.
Mhm.
Iconographically, it's usually a skull or an hourglass.
Yeah.
Um, these days, it simply is just used to remind us all that our time on this planet and in this existence and in this reality is limited. Um, I find it to be important.
Yeah. As do I.
It's a lot of people are like, hey, you're gonna die someday, so live it up. And you know what? You
Mhm.
can do that. That's fine. And I think that's a good way to look at life sometimes. But I think another thing is to go, hey, I could die anytime. So let's make sure that I remember to just soak it all in sometimes. Because these moments are so few sometimes and are so important when you look back on them. That like you just gotta take a second to memorize it and remember how you feel and how it smells and enjoy that victory, that brief, small battle that you are winning right now against death. Ultimately, you'll lose, but uh, I don't think death holds a grudge about it. So,
Yeah. I think it's important to take care of yourself, obviously. I don't think you should throw caution to the wind and
right.
do whatever the fuck just because you're going to die someday. But I also don't want to spend my whole life being obsessed with my health and my longevity.
Well, yeah,
I
because if I'm
also
constantly
want,
paranoid that I could die, like, what's the point?
yeah, because then aren't you're not gonna afford yourself the opportunity to enjoy living, which is not the easiest thing to do in general. But it's important to try and not get overly worried about your own longevity. But it's hard not to get hung up on things like that because it's just the finality of it. We keep saying that, but
I
it's
mean,
hard
that
not
is the
to,
ultimate final. Like,
yeah, it's hard not to get hung up on something that you simply can't do anything about. You don't, you have no control over it ultimately. So I think people worry about it and like get obsessed about their health and their longevity because that makes them feel like they have more control over it.
there are so few things in this world that are undoable, like genuinely and completely irrevocable.
Yeah.
And death is just one of those things, and it'll never not be that. Like, there's just no way to have that not be the case. What do you think happens when we die, man? We've talked about it a lot, but I think we could take a minute
Nothing.
to like really, really, really say it. And I agree. I don't think anything happens.
Yeah, I'm a person who thinks nothing happens. I don't believe in any sort of afterlife or reincarnation. I'm not a religious person. I would consider myself an atheist because I believe that there just isn't any spirituality or supernatural or religious things that exist. I think the lights just kind of go off.
Yeah, I think you can't remember what your life was like before your first memory, and I think that's what happens after you go. Is you are in, and then you are nothing, and you don't. There's not even worth contemplating sometimes because it's like, well, how do I conceptualize that? There is no conceptualizing it. You can't experience something that you cannot experience. And so like even worrying about it is not super helpful. It's definitely interesting. There's a reason that I color myself a hobby theologist. Like everyone's ideas of what happens is so interesting. But I personally think that nothing happens. Now, am I 100% certain? Technically, I can't say yes because like we're talking about,
As a man of science, I cannot say yes.
yeah, we're talking about an experience beyond our mortal coil, which is all we can ever experience anyway. So like, is there something else beyond that? I don't fucking know. But the reason I call myself an atheist is because I think that no one actually knows, and we spend a lot of time trying to think that we do, just to make it feel a little bit more comfortable.
Yeah.
Um, Something I think is interesting is how other people think about it, though.
Hmm.
I do. I'm always interested by how people think about death or an afterlife or pre or post life. So I want to take a minute to talk about how my friend thought that it worked. Um, it changed a lot. She was always thinking of interesting ways to interpret the world around her. Um, the last time we spoke, she told me that she believed that life was recurring. Um, so when you die, you came back again later. Um, but there, she expressed that there was an in between, um, where when you die, you could just wait. And she believed that she and her friends and her supposed kindred spirits hung out and made a plan for an experience, and that was the ride that she was on now, and that's why she thought that we always found each other again and continued to be such good friends and rely on each other, was because we uh, we were a form of spiritual homies that like had all this planned out, and it sucked right now, but it was gonna feel so good later because it's all part of the system. Um, what an interesting, creative way to think about death and life.
Yeah. Um gosh, I just don't think anything happens. Like we said, we can't be certain, but I think for some people afterlives and reincarnation are comfort blankets, but then for other
Sure.
people um it's really adding meaning to their life, and it's adding meaning to the way they're gonna pass on and the way people are gonna think about them after they go, regardless of where they go or what happens. It does it changes a lot, and it affects what they mean to people and what life means to them.
I think one of the things in someone's passing that we should ask ourselves is, especially if they're important to us, is how do we honor that person's life? Um, I think this relates to what we were just talking about because personally, I find it to be a good practice to look at someone's death the way that they would want it to be looked at when they were alive.
That's a more
Um,
tactful way to say what I think I was trying to say.
like, I don't believe anyone's right, um, but I like to think about someone's death in a comforting way because honestly, if they were dead and they could tell me how to think about it, they would tell me that they were right. Like, right, you know what I'm saying? Like they would say, "Hey, don't worry about it, dude. You're gonna catch up with me, and we're gonna plan this shit all out again. And next round is gonna be even better." Um, in this specific instance, and so like if someone close to me dies, I just I don't believe, but I think about their death in their personal context they expressed to me. And that certainly makes their passing easier. Most people are pretty positive about that. Sucks for everyone who cares about me when I die because they're just going to be like, oh, he's gone now. Deal with it. I promise if ghosts are real, I'm haunting somebody. And we're going to prove it together. Like,
You're gonna like come haunt me and help me be the guy that proves the
proves
existence
it.
of ghosts.
Yeah, yeah. um, I think, but furthermore, I think it's important to an extent you're projecting, right? When a lot of people are like, they would want X, they would want Y. Um, a lot of that is for us, right? But I think it's important to think about the things that they genuinely would want in their death. And honestly, most people just would want us to feel better. And unfortunately, the only way to feel better is to move on. That doesn't mean forget, though.
Yeah,
Um, I think honoring the people close to you as they pass away is part of the grieving process. That
absolutely.
person and their touch in your life is going to be with you forever. So, just don't let it burn out. Are you scared of death?
Um, I don't. I wouldn't say so. Um, I think there's scary aspects to it that are kind of uncomfortable things to think about. Earlier, I
I
talked
think,
about how thinking about how sudden it can be, and that there's not anything really that I can do about that without like living in bubble wrap. That
yeah,
is like kind of a frightening thought to me. But overall, I don't think I'm scared of death, even though I think nothing happens afterwards, and it's just over. That thought isn't that scary to me. I guess I don't. I think I'd prefer to just be able to understand and accept that life is temporary and be able to find joy in that time that I have, because it's going to end and that's okay. Like a lot of things end and you can still enjoy them while they happen. And I guess I'm not, I guess that the way I believe death works doesn't seem as frightening to me as it does to a lot of people, I guess.
yeah. I wouldn't say I'm scared of it. I think there's an innate feature to being a living creature that makes you go, I don't want to die. Which is like, sure,
Yeah,
that'll
absolutely.
always be there. But like, here's one thing that I do honestly believe, like genuinely, and this is because you can receive these recounts from people. When you're on death's door, like on your way out, like your body is giving up, like letting go of your life. We do know that your brain floods with endorphins to make that going easier. We can see that actually in creatures that have chromatophores. These are cells in their body that change color. Squids, octopus, and chameleons are three really good examples. When these creatures die of old age, or they die, period, their chromatophores, which are linked to their emotion or how they feel, like as a response, um, explode. Like they put out these dazzling swan songs. Just on their skin. And when you talk to people who are alive that are very close to death, like in a car wreck and then go into a coma and then wake up alive, they express that dying feels like the ultimate peace. I do believe that is the case.
I think that's
Um,
why I feel relatively comfortable
Me too.
with the idea, because apart from dying like a horribly physically painful type of
Like
death,
falling into a shredder or something. Yeah.
yeah, apart from dying in a way like that, it seems like a relatively peaceful way
Seems
to
chill.
go. The way that I believe it works seems a little bleak, but also pretty peaceful to me.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's abstract, right? It's macabre. It's uh finding glory in the disgusting, in the fearsome. And I think that that is what death is ultimately, right? It's a fearful thing, but there's beauty in it, just like there's beauty in life, and life is terrifying. But um, what if you want to die? Like, this is something that I've experienced, I think, my whole life since I was like 10. So like I was sentient for like 5 years, and then I was like, I don't want to be here anymore.
Oh man.
um, in high school, we had a class where the final, I think this is like health or whatever, was writing a letter to a student who wanted to kill themselves.
What the fuck?
I find this to be so tactless.
Did I have to do this?
Yes, clearly you forgot about it.
Yeah, I forgot about this fucking assignment. This is terrible.
Someone had to remind me of this. A friend of mine, and her reminding me of this was really interesting, because it's just like she expressed it. She didn't even know how to grapple with that idea, like, other than just say, "Don't do it, bro." Like, I think it's difficult to express to someone who hasn't experienced any form of suicidal ideation how deafeningly loud it is.
Yeah, because how could you
Um,
possibly want that? I can
how
understand how that's not even imaginable to somebody who's never experienced, even not like a serious actionable desire to die, but
yeah,
just anything. Some people have never experienced those kinds of
yeah.
thoughts. I can
Some
understand how it
people
would be an unimaginable feeling to somebody.
some people experience hardship unending, and they're just like, okay, I'm locking in, I'm just gonna do it. And other people, like me, experience distinct hardship, and they witness and recognize a pattern of cyclical suffering, that they would rather not experience. um, so I'm about to speak from my soul, and try to explain what it's like to wish you were dead. um, Imagine that your life is a skyscraper, and every year you climb higher into that skyscraper. But a fire breaks out and it spreads to the outer windows. The fear that you experience in braving that fire, is literally how scary it is to wake up and press forward when you get to that point. Um, every day you wake up and that fire's still there, and it just keeps getting hotter, and fighting that fire just feels impossible, and it constantly burns. um, the unending pressure that you have to face every single day without ease. um, if this was real, jumping out of that window seems a lot less scary than diving right back into that hurt to try and abate it. um, every time suicide is brought up, the first thing people say is to talk to someone, anybody, right? And that really can be helpful, but even when you have a support system, how could the people around you relate to this bottomless, pitch black, gaping maw that's devouring you from the inside out? Um, I think that's the best way I can express what that's like.
Yeah.
And when you think about this, like in a real life scenario, people do choose to jump out of their windows of their burning buildings, like literally actually jump out of a burning building, because that's the fall is less scary than burning alive. And
Yeah.
I think that's the best way I can equate why suicide seems like an option to people.
I think it's a good
um
analogy. If you're talking about, you're trying to climb the skyscraper and the fire's catching up to you floor by floor. It's, if the longer you do that for, the less it feels like you're ever gonna like get to the top and get saved by a helicopter, whatever. Like, it doesn't feel possible at a certain point to just keep fucking going up
yeah,
floor by floor, and the fire is relentless, and it's just an enormous amount of work that doesn't feel worth it.
yeah. And how could people around you relate to that? It's a good question that I've asked myself so many times, and I know people have asked themselves the same thing, right? And I'm here to tell you that, you know what, dude, maybe they can't. But that's okay. Um, we all have unique experiences.
Yeah.
We all have unique and different struggles. Jet and I don't struggle the same way exactly. But the thing is you and I have empathy, like most people are built to have.
I try
Um,
to.
you know what I mean? I'm an empath. Um, I don't need to experience Jet's pain to understand he's in pain in the
Right.
same way that he doesn't need to experience mine to understand that I hurt.
Yeah.
And that's okay. Um, some people are just born and their skyscraper is ablaze immediately.
Yeah.
Sometimes their fire starts lower on their floors, and sometimes their fire starts higher. And as they approach, they get to the heat. Some fires are manageable, and I'll tell you from experience, some of these fires will push you right to that window. But you can't jump out. You just can't. You owe it to yourself, and like we've spent all episode talking about, to everyone around you, just call. And you know what, dude? Maybe that firefighting is gonna be messy, and everybody's gonna get burned. It's happened to us. Um, I've called in Jet to help me fight those fires, and Jet has suffered for it. But we put it out, right?
Right. There there are there are people who would rather get burned helping you get out than let you fight the fire on your own. There's always going to be people who would rather run in and help you. Always.
Yeah, and what you won't experience is when when your building explodes, um, that will be starting fires in every one of your neighbors' houses, and all of your other friends' buildings. This analogy is paying off in spades. Um, like that's just what happens. I have a fire in my building now, and that's okay. I know how to fight it, and I've got friends to help. Um, but it can I've beaten it before. I know I will have to beat another one in the future, and I will beat this one now. Um, I've had to fight these fires my whole life, and sometimes it's manageable and I can handle it on my own. And I will tell you from my experience that sometimes the pavement looks far more comfortable than that unbearable heat. But I persist regardless. No matter what, death is a part of life, and change is ultimately inevitable. We live to die, which world is a fuck. You know what I mean? Yes, remember that your time is limited, but while you're here, live, and that's the beauty of life. Is like, I'm a nihilist. Yes, I believe that there is no purpose to even being alive. Just to be alive is what life is for. Um, how do I find purpose? I make it up.
Yeah.
I make my own fucking purpose. I'm here to live, so I'm gonna do a life. I'm gonna do a life that I enjoy. Yes, I have Memento Mori on my arm, ink carved into my skin and left ink behind to remind me that I will die someday. But on the other side of my hourglass, the side that I can read from my perspective, the side that is ticking out, I have remember to live. Um, both for these reasons of reminding myself that when a fire is set, I must fight it. Um, and to remind myself that I've gotten this far, and every time that I wish that I didn't, or didn't think about living this far, I did. And all of that empty space in my hourglass, despite the fact that it is a vacuum, is full at the same time in a strange poetic way, because every grain of sand that ticks through is my life's experience, and it is over, but I experienced it, and some are good and some are bad, but overall at the end of the day I will have been glad that I lived.
Yeah, the hourglass is there to it's there to use.
Yeah. We just can't see our own. We all have a timer. We just don't know it. Um, but I think it's important to look at your life when something like this happens and be grateful that you are still here. Yes, it is in the wake of someone beautiful and amazing, but you continue and you persist. And so now you get to go have more life experiences and go do more things. And that person doesn't need to physically be with you. Um, and the thought of wishing they were there doesn't have to be so scary for you to go, man, they would have loved this shit. And that's okay. Um, Anything else to add, Jet?
No, I don't want to sully what you just said, frankly. I think
This episode came from the heart, so I don't know. I hope I did a good job.
I think you did. I would rather sit on that at the end of this episode than add anything else to it. I think that was awesome.
This episode is dedicated to Phoebe Green. She was the freest person that I ever knew. I hope any one of us can figure out, even for a moment, to be as unshackled from inhibitions as her. She could feel the rain on her skin better than anybody else. So yeah, if you need somebody, call, and we'll have resources available in the comment or in the description, and that's it. But I know very well that we will see you later. So see ya.
I will see you.